Spurs 2, Manchester United 0, a humiliating defeat for the Red Devils, a defeat that can easily be brushed off as being just another shitty performance from Manchester United, but I think that the context of our loss was much more nuanced than that, and I think that there are some valuable lessons that we can learn from this defeat. Now, without any further ado, let's analyze. Okay, so one of my favorite football data charts to look at is this XG time-in chart. Basically, what this shows you is the expected goals of each of Tottenham in blue and Manchester United in yellow throughout the duration of the game. And so basically what this shows you is that it shows you at every single minute in the game who is the most dominant team, because dominating a team in football means creating more chances, therefore allowing you to score more goals, because that's what the game is about. This is much more important than possession. And so here what we can see is that Manchester United in yellow, of course, were much more dominant than Spurs up until the 35th minute. In fact, at this stage, at the 35th minute, we were like 5 to 6 times more dominant. We have an expected goals of more than 5 times than that of Spurs, which shows that we were completely crushing them. But of course, as you can see, is that immediately after that, Spurs started to gain their composure. They started to come back into the game, and then of course they scored their goal right after the second half. And then from that, they just kept climbing until they went way beyond us. By far, they were the most dangerous team after the break, and that's what they deserved the win. Now, of course, this is a classic narrative of a team starting the game very well, being the most dominant team, having their chances but not taking them, and then allowing the opposition to get back in the game and then get the 3 points at the end. So how did this actually happen on the pitch? Let's analyze some footage from the game. All right, now let's look at some footage from the game. One of the main reasons why we were actually able to start the game very well and why we controlled the game for the first 35 minutes was because we were able to disrupt Tottenham's build-up play from the back. And the way we did that is actually a classic Erik ten Hag move. Every time we play against good, dangerous opposition, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Spurs in this case, he always uses a man-marking system. So for example, here against Spurs, who play with inverted wingbacks, as you can see Udogie and Porro over here, both of them are quite tight and narrow. By using a man-marking system, actually Spurs played to our strength. As you can see, all of our players are man-marking their players. Madison with Casemiro over here, Mount and Garnacho marking Porro and Sarr over there. And then, of course, Udogie with Anthony, and Bissouma marked with either Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes, who both were alternating between marking Bissouma and pressing the centre-backs. What this meant is that actually our shape became narrower because our players were following the Spurs players everywhere they went. If they went wide, we went wide. If they went narrow, we went narrow. And that, of course, played to our strengths because, of course, we were able to disrupt their build-up play. As you can see, of course, they don't have much passing options. They don't have much choice. Here, Vicario is going to go with Porro, who is the best choice out of all of these, but of course, not the best choice. He loses the ball. Now, the advantage of this kind of play here by Erik ten Hag is that if we win the ball, we have a lot of players close to each other. Therefore, we are able to quickly transition from our defensive shape into attack and cause some havoc in the opposition. Here, of course, Garnacho is going to find Anthony. And Anthony could have scored 1 or 2 goals this game. It wasn't meant to be. Anyway, this was an opportunity. This was in the second minute of the game. And throughout the first 30-35 minutes of the game, we were always playing like this. And we were able to stifle Spurs. Now, of course, what this meant is that the Manchester United players progressively became confident. And there is nothing that epitomizes that confidence more than Bruno Fernandes. Look what he's going to do. You see? This right here, this is the sign of a confident player. You don't do that. You don't do that if you're not confident. And of course, this was a great set play by Manchester United, a great, sequence phase of play by Manchester United. But Bruno Fernandes in this game was typical Bruno Fernandes, i.e. extremely hot or freezing cold. And in that sequence, the previous one, he was of course extremely hot. And in this sequence, he was at his frustrating best. Let's see what happens here. This was the best chance that we had in the first half, and we should have scored this opportunity right here. Let's look at Bruno Fernandes over here. Look what he's going to do. Garnacho has the ball on the left-hand side. So look at Bruno Fernandes. What is he going to do? He looks at Garnacho, and he points towards Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is coming. He wants the ball. Now let's look at what Anthony is going to do. Anthony's coming in. Look, he's also pointing into the 6-yard box over here. Luke Shaw knows what he's going to do. And Bruno Fernandes, look, he's shaping his body in the way that he's going to make the run into this area right here. That's exactly what he does. Beautiful. That should have been a goal. And the reason why I'm so frustrated about this is that the fact that Bruno Fernandes and Antony were communicating with Garnacho and Luke Shaw proves that this is a rehearsed pattern of play. And we've seen it a lot of times last season, and we are seeing it again this season. This is practiced in our training ground. The players are used to it. Bruno Fernandes asked for it. That means he was anticipating the ball to come in this particular location, at this particular pace, for it to be hit with this particular body part, with his head. And yet he missed it. If this was a cross that he was not expected, if let's say there was an unexpected missed interception by an opposition player and he had a split second to make a header and he missed, fine, I'm not going to blame a player for that. But this is unforgivable. Come on, Bruno, that should have been 1-0 United. And I can guarantee you, with the way the game was going up till this point, had we scored right now, that's it. Spurs would be gone. All of that confidence and that self-belief that they had would have been sucked out of them, and we would have controlled the game and probably won 1 or 2-0 at the end. At least we would have gotten the 3 points. But this was the turning point, because the moment we missed this, what happened to Spurs is that they weren't in the game for 35 minutes, but this was a case of like, okay, Man United, do your worst. Okay, you've done your worst. Well, I'm unscathed. I'm fine. Well, now I'm going to regroup and I'm going to get back at you. And that's exactly what they did. And from the 35th minute all the way to the 45th minute, right before the break, they were, of course, the best team. And they carried on after the break. And the reason for that is simple. Let's keep watching. Now, let's look at this sequence over here. Look at Garnacho. This is in the second half, 48 minutes. This is what led to them scoring their first goal, the Sarr goal. Garnacho is looking at Antony and he's telling him, Antony, get ready. I'm going to pass you the ball. This is a young man being naive right here, okay? So Garnacho, what he's going to do, he's going to come here, claim the ball from Luke Shaw, and look, immediately, he wants to do that. Go towards Antony. But is this the best choice? Is this the best choice? Why play such a speculative long ball into an area where we don't have a lot of players? It's just Antony by himself. Why do that? And here, Garnacho, listen, he's a young player. I don't blame him. You have to have a trade-off. When you play young players, you get a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, risk-taking. They have nothing to lose. Great. But the trade-off is that their decision-making is not the best. It's up to players like Mount and Casemiro and Varane and Luke Shaw and Bruno to kind of tell Garnacho, no, that's not the wise thing to do. There are much better options. Pass it to Varane and let's build up from the back again. Let's be patient. Let's keep the ball. It's like pouring cold water on Spurs and their fans. You just have to cool everything down. And we didn't do that. So we lose the ball. Now, for nothing, Spurs have the ball. Out of nothing. Unnecessarily losing the ball. And in the same sequence, what happens here again is that they're running at us. Now look, Udogie over here, okay? Running with the ball. Casemiro, come on, man, what's that? Is this the same Casemiro from last year? I don't think so. Running at us, James Maddison had a great game. The number 10 that we wished we had. Passes the ball. Of course, Wan-Bissaka intercepts the ball. But in the same sequence, we attack back. This was back and forth between Spurs and Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes and Rashford combine on the right-hand side. Bruno Fernandes spreads it wide towards Garnacho. Great. This is the kind of situations where you want Garnacho to have the ball. He has the ball. Now, Shaw is coming in support. Now, Garnacho is going to commit a cardinal sin again. Don't be too eager. Passes back to Luke Shaw. Makes himself available. Great. So far, great. Now, don't do this. Don't you ever do this. Ever. Don't you ever do this. Look what he does. He's just too eager. This is like the Spurs players know exactly that you're going to do this. And even this pass, even if it went through, there is no way that Luke Shaw can do anything with him because Kulusevski is following him. Why would you play this pass right here? So now again, give Spurs the ball cheaply. Now Spurs have the ball. This is again, same sequence. Same sequence, they get the ball, spread it wide, and now this is what led to the goal. Of course, here what we have is Garnacho is not tracking with nearly enough intensity for him to make it difficult for Kulusevski, but also Luke Shaw. Look, there is only Richarlison in the box. None of the midfielders are making any late runs into the box as of now. So Luke Shaw doesn't actually have to be here. There are three players here. There is Lisandro Martinez, Varane, and Casemiro. He needs to be in Kulusevski's face right here, in the edge of the box. No, instead they let him have all the time, all the space in the world. And then, of course, deflection on Lisandro Martinez. Sometimes you're unlucky. But Spurs deserve their luck here because they made it happen and we made it easy for them by giving them the ball unnecessarily. But having said that, Still, I'm going to extend the players an olive branch. Okay, fine. A young player like Garnacho losing the ball, fine. He's a young player. You're not going to blame him for that. He's learning, he's evolving, he's developing. That's not a problem. But the problem is with the second goal. Let's look at that. So, throughout the game, Udogie over here and Porro, they play as inverted wingbacks. I watched the Spurs game against Brentford. They use that a lot. This new look Spurs team, they rely a lot on inverted wingbacks. What they do is that players like Kulusevski, who in this sequence is here, but usually he's out wide over there, and Son, they create width, they hug the touchline, therefore attracting drawing the fullbacks with them. And then in the space between the right back and right centre back and the left back and the left centre back are spaces that get exploited, those half spaces, by the inverted wing backs. And here Udogie is going to show us how he does it very well. Now look at that. He's exploiting the space. Nobody's with him. Varane is too far. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is too far. And Anthony and Casemiro, none of them are anticipating this pass right here. The ball comes in. This could have been a goal for Spurs, by the way. This is when Porro hit the crossbar. So Udogie in the space, goes to Son Heung-min, and then Porro. The other right back, look at him. He is in that area 14, in the hole. This is where the attacking midfielder is. Again, just emphasizing how important that inverted wing back role is in this Spurs team. Gets the ball and then hits the crossbar. That should have been a goal for Spurs. But this just highlights how dangerous they are. But then what frustrates me the most is that that's exactly what's going to lead to Spurs' second goal. And it's not going to come from Udogie. It's going to come from his replacement, Ben Davies. Again, frustrating me because Angie is showing, and many managers in England have shown, that they can actually have their teams play to their own image within 2 or 3 games. De Zerbi, as soon as he took over at Brighton, within 2 or 3 games, they were playing De Zerbi ball. Right now, they're playing Angie ball. Gary O'Neill had 1 week with Wolves, and he had a very good plan, a very good, well-prepared team against us in our first game of the season. Why can't Erik ten Hag have that mark on his team? So let's see what happens. Remember how we were really good in the press and really good at disturbing Spurs' ability to build up from the back in the first half? Well, look at the second half. Look how disorganized this is. Bissouma is supposed to be marked all the time. He's not marked. And look, we are committing 6 players to 5 Spurs players. And what's going to happen is that now Bissouma has a lot of time on the ball, goes back towards Vicario. Look, Christian Eriksen is confused. Bruno Fernandes is here. And look at this. We have 2 dangerous players over there. Ben Davies, the left back, and James Maddison, another player you don't want to have a lot of time on the ball. There you go. Goes towards Van de Ven, and then there you go. That's it. That's it. The press is broken. And now they can go and attack us. And so this sequence, by the way, was a 75-second sequence where we did not touch the ball. It went from their goalkeeper to them scoring the goal, the second goal. We didn't touch the ball once against Spurs. And so now the ball goes towards Ben Davies right there. Oh, sorry, Son. And then Maddison towards, who's that? Is that Richarlison? And then look at this. Ben Davies is going to make the move that everybody should have been aware of. And yet nobody tracked. Look at how much space he's got. Look at this. This is ridiculous. Varane is over here. It's the same thing with Udogie. And then now we are seeing it with Ben Davies. And then Perisic can find him. And then that's it. That's it. That's a goal right there. And what I want to say here is, come on guys, I don't want to blow my own horn. I'm just an amateur analyst. I'm passionate about the game, passionate about Manchester United. But even I watched the Spurs Brentford game, 2-2, in order for me to see how this Spurs team play so that I'm prepared for this video. And I could see, you could clearly see it from Proxima Centauri. You could see that Spurs play with inverted wingbacks. So you're telling me that nobody at Manchester United, not Erik ten Hag, not Van de Gaal, not any of the analysts that we have, looked at this and they were like, no, this is an actually strength in the way Spurs team plays. So we have to be wary of that. And so 3 things. Either Erik ten Hag and his staff are incompetent because they could not see it, or they are incompetent because they saw it, but they could not prepare our players properly so that they're able to deal with it. Or the third one, and that's even worse, is that they saw it, they prepared the players, but the players are unable or unwilling to execute the instructions. All of this means that it's Erik ten Hag's fault. It's his job to make sure that the players know, that the players are ready, and that the players execute. If they don't, there needs to be consequences. But this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. We are unprepared. We were unprepared against Wolves. They were better prepared than us. And we were unprepared against Spurs, and this is what we lost. At a certain point, the penny has to drop. And to me, it dropped with Erik ten Hag. And then, there is, of course, Casemiro. And this Casemiro, I don't know what is happening, but it's ridiculous. I mean, his level has dropped immensely. Look at this. Look at Casemiro over here. Look. It's as if he was going to fall on his face. He seems to be like a guy who's struggling to keep up with what's happening. He's struggling to keep up. And then look at the sequence over here. Bissouma was non-existent in the first half. Second half, he owned the game. Look at this. Look, how ridiculous is this? Look, this is, come on, Casemiro. It was the case against Wolves, and it's the case again in this game. He is so out of touch. This is not the Casemiro from last year. Let's just hope that it's a matter of him not being match fit. Let's just hope. But if this is the level that Casemiro is going to show throughout the season, we are doomed. Finishing in the top 6 or top 7 is going to be a challenge for us. We need Sofiane Amrabat. We definitely need that. At this point now, it's a matter of survival. Because this Casemiro right here cannot be our number 6 for most of the games in the season. Alright, so it's bad. It's really bad. It looked bad. It was not. It did not feel good being a Manchester United fan yesterday. But at the same time, I still have to add a little bit of perspective here. And it is that last season, we've seen it, that Erik ten Hag's strength, in my opinion, as a Manchester United manager, is that he's able to learn from his mistake and adapt. Last season, every time we've had a setback, even losing 7-0, 6-3, it didn't matter. The next game we won, and we went on a streak of wins. So Erik ten Hag is able to learn, is able to adapt, is able to identify areas of improvement and make sure that the players change ahead of the next game. So this is still early. We have 3 points out of 6. We lost to Spurs. Actually, Spurs, I think they are very good. They played very well against Brentford. And again, they were very good against us in the second half. So fine. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Let's see how we react in the next game against Nottingham Forest. Anyway, guys, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comment section, what did you think about the game yesterday? What do you think we have to improve on? What shocked you the most? Until next time, cheers.